Welcome everyone! I thought it was about time to show a game of one of the greatest players of all time, José Raul Capablanca. At the time of this game he wasn't world champion yet, since he was the champ from 21 to 1927, but he was already one of the top players in the world. Here he faced Benito Villegas from Argentina. Capablanca had white and opened with d4, d5, knight f3, knight to f6, e3, c6, and after bishop to d3, bishop g4, c4, and e6, we have some unusual version of the Semi-Slav defense, because we do have the pawn triangle on c6, d5, and e6, but normally the knight would be on d7, and the bishop usually doesn't appear on g4. It continued with knight from b to d2, knight from b to d7, castles, and here black played bishop to e7, which is somewhat passive. Bishop to d6 is more frequently played. Now maybe you were considering e5 to exploit the fact that the knight is pinned, but this isn't dangerous for white. White just trades on d5 and plays e4, physically preventing black from playing e4, and here it could continue with bishop to e7, ed5, castles, and rook to e1, and after pawn takes d4, h3, bishop to h5, and knight to b3, and white will recapture on d4. Anyway, that didn't happen. Black played bishop to e7, queen to c2, bishop to h5. Now the bishop isn't pinning the knight anymore, so black hopes to put it on g6 and trade off white's good bishop. b3, bishop to g6 as predicted, bishop to b2, they traded bishops, and after castles, white played rook from a to e1. Now white wants to play e4, not only to gain more central control, but also to increase the mobility of his pieces. Black played queen to c7, and e4 was played. Now it's worth noting that white probably had the time to execute this plan because black had spent so many moves with his bishop. Anyway, black took on e4, they traded some more on e4, and here black went bishop to f6. Now black wants to play knight to c5, which would force more piece trades, which is what black wants because he has less space. Now Capablanca nudged the queen to e3, and now black played c5. Now by trading white's d-pawn, the knight can get access to c5 or e5. Kappa played knight to e5, and after pawn takes d4, here Capablanca actually played a really nice tricky move. Maybe you'd like to pause the video to find it. Well, here Capablanca played knight takes d7. Capablanca never missed little tricks like this. Now black must have expected the normal looking bishop takes d4, and after bishop e5, knight e5, rook e5, and here black would just take the d file with rook from f to d8. But that was never white's plan. He took on d7, and the point is that black cannot take the queen because of knight takes f6 check, and now taking that knight would be the absolute worst move, because after pawn takes knight, there would be rook g4 check, king h8, and bishop f6 checkmate. Therefore black wouldn't take the knight, but would play king to h8, but now white plays rook to h4, threatening mate, and after h6, there is rook takes h6 check, and after pawn takes, there would be knight d5 discover check, king to g8, and knight takes queen, and white ends up with two pieces for the rook, which is, especially due to the weak dark squares, already winning for white. So black didn't take the queen, he just recaptured the knight, queen takes d7, white took on d4, black traded, he cannot allow bishop takes f6. Now let's see what white's threat is. Let's say black plays a nothing move like a6, Then white is winning after bishop takes f6, and if black takes, then it's actually checkmate after rook g4 check, king h8, queen to h6, threatening with mate on g7, therefore rook to g8, but then there's simply queen f6 check, rook g7, and queen g7 checkmate. That's why black traded on d4, and after rook d4, queen to c7, white stands better because he can use his queenside pawn majority to create a passed pawn, and for now he also controls the only open file. Capablanca played rook from f to d1, threatening rook to d7, therefore rook from f to d8, b4, starting the process of creating a passed pawn. Black traded rooks and played b6. That's to be able to remove the rook from the defense of the a-pawn. g3, just creating some luft. Rook to c8, rook to c1. White's rook wanted to go here anyway, because as we know, rooks belong behind passed pawns, or a future passed pawn in this case. Rook to d8, now black wants the d-file. Queen to e3. Capablanca says it's okay, black can have that file. The queen is good on e3 because it stops rook d2, it covers the c5 square and it protects the rook. Black played king to f8, c5. Black took on c5, and next he wants to play queen to c6 to block the passed pawn. Therefore Capablanca played queen to e4, stopping queen to c6. And now Capablanca just wants to recapture the pawn and play c6. Rook to d5 was played. Black still thinks he will remain a pawn up, but Capablanca just took the pawn anyway. As I said before, Capablanca never misses a trick. Black cannot take that pawn because of queen to b4, pinning and winning the rook. Therefore, g6 was played, c6 as planned. Here black played king to g7. The black king has to watch his step a little bit, he could easily get in trouble. If the king went to e7, then white can give this check from h4. And if black is not careful and goes king to d6, then there is queen b4 check, and it's just checkmate soon. If the rook blocks, then there is queen takes c5 checkmate. And if after queen b4 check, king to e5, then queen to f4 is checkmate. Therefore, king to g7, a4, white wants to play queen to b4 to b7, and after the queen trade promote the b pawn, but then black would play rook to b5, stopping the pawn. Now after a4, that's not possible anymore. Rook to d6 was played instead, still hoping to stop the pawn, but Capablanca finds a nice finish. Queen e5 check, and after f6, there was another little trick. Queen takes rook, and after queen takes c7, the pawn cannot be stopped anymore, so black resigned. Now a really nice and also very instructive game by this chess genius. To end this video, here's a nice quote about Capablanca by Sir George Thomas. Against Alekhine, you never knew what to expect. Against Capablanca, you knew exactly what to expect, but you couldn't stop him anyway. Now that definitely seems to apply here. It's like black didn't really make any big mistake, and seemingly without any effort, Capablanca convincingly beats him anyway. Now that's all for today. If you also enjoy these games, please subscribe. More games are coming your way, and as always, thank you for watching Chess Student, and take care.